Welcome to this short video on the BarTimerHybrid indicator version 6. I didn't realize till I looked at it, I've actually started developing this in 2017, which is ludicrous. But of course, Ninja's moved to 8. I've grown better. It's been a very interesting exercise to do it. I've learned a lot about Ninjascript and object-oriented programming and so on and so forth. So it's been a good exercise for me. I've wanted to throw the computer against the wall 1,000 times, and it's taught me a little bit of patience. Anyway, this is a new version. I think it's significantly better than those. There's a lot of internal changes, which obviously no one's really interested in, but they make it significantly better. It's now about 75 lines less with significantly added features. Where do we find it? You will find a folder called Mindset in here. Ignore all the rest that are just things I'm playing with. It's called BarTimerHybrid 6. As you can see, it's here. And if I just highlight this, make it visible, see that there it is. So the indicator itself is composed of really two elements. The first, this line here, is a clock, and then the second is a counter, and it will count numbers and it will count percentages in any kind of chart format you like. So this is a time-based chart, a 30-second chart. Just turn that off for a second so you can see it. And when you open it up, you should see show counter setup. All of these in big capitals are essentially the main options, and there are sub-menus if you click them. So if you do show counter setup, it gives you this, and if you click it off, it disappears. You can count up or down, so depending on your preference, and you can display, and this is the clock in this chart time. So as you can see here, we are, let's just shrink that down a second. We're at 15:09, or you can use an alternative clock, in this instance, EST, Eastern Standard Time. And we've got London time and Hong Kong, so on and so forth. Just be aware that if you change your chart from your home time zone, so I am in Thailand at the moment, for instance, and if I set my chart, which you can in NinjaTrader, to a different time zone, I tend to find these don't necessarily work. I can't find a pattern to it. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. If you're in your home time zone and you don't change anything, they do work, however, so just be aware of that. There's also a spare one, so if you want a strange one, I can't think that you would, but if you do, if you just pop into the code, you can see how to do it there. It's like 3 or 4 lines of code just about it. It's really not that complicated. And then finally, we've got counter only, which is exactly what it says. It's just the counter, in this instance seconds. So it's, you see it's counting down. So let's go count up for 1 second. Excuse me. The counter location, you can put it anywhere you like. And there's a new one, price axis, I'll come on to in a second. The clock and the counter are now two separate things, and you can change the colors of them individually. So the text color is, as you say, the main color, and then the wraparound, which is 1 pixel different from the rest. As you can see, it's very vague. I had a user actually send that in to me, so I thought it was quite nice. So I've put it on both now. I've just realized that should actually be crimson, and but never mind. You can have it however you want. So let's take that off for a second, and then we've got trigger levels. Now, you can use this on tick-based charts, volume-based charts, time-based charts, and range charts. And I just simply amalgamated them into time-based chart levels and non-time-based chart levels. And this value here, if I take 10, is either 10 seconds or 10%. And in this instance, if it's non-time-based, it would be 101 ticks, volume, whatever it might be, or 101% in this instance. Ignore this for a second. So if I change charts for 1 second, so here's a 100 tick chart. And as you can see, we're on a non-time-based chart level of 5, so it will flash at 5%. In this instance, as it's coming down, when it gets to 5, which is too small, obviously it won't flash for any time whatsoever. So let's make that 50. Apply. So once this gets to 50, I beg your pardon, it'll start flashing. And I'll talk about the flash levels in a second. If, however, you were to forget that you're on percentage and you click 101, it'll come up with an error message just to remind you that this is going to flash just continually and as of limited value. So just remember, this is 101% or 101. And again, if you count down, it has a different meaning to if you count up. It's all fairly logical. You can play with it as you wish. So let's get that back to 50. And you can use percentages or numbers. Whoops. So in this, as you can see, so it's at 50, it's going down. And again, when it gets to 50, it'll start flashing. Yeah, it can be a little bit delayed, I find. In real time, when, for instance, New York opens, I find for about the first 20, 30 seconds, it can be a little bit iffy. I believe NinjaTrader call it racing conditions. It's basically where the computer, whatever version of computing power you have, is just inundated and is flooded with info, and the timer can just get delayed because it's not a high priority thing. But really, it's only over 10 or 15 seconds. But just be aware of it, and you'll find it might jump 2 or 3 seconds. Because the highest priority of NinjaTrader is ticks on the chart, ticks and volume and price, which is logical. If you've got a very powerful machine, I'm assuming on big bandwidth, I'm assuming you wouldn't get that. Unfortunately, as I'm training off a budget laptop in Thailand, so that's what I get. So I'll look at some more features now. We've done the counter setup, and we've done the trigger levels. I haven't talked about range. I'll come back to those in 1 second. Flashing options, you've got text only, which is the current one. You can do the whole panel, which is the whole reason I started doing this indicator back in 2017 was I just like the panel to flash, so I don't actually have to even look at it. I could just catch it out the corner of my eye. Oh, I haven't applied it. Apologies. So there you go. So that's flash, and you've got the 2 gradient colors. So, and you can really muck about with it. You can get some there's a sunset one and a black and white one, and there's some really good fun ones you can have. It just makes it slightly more interesting. Clock face only. Oh rats! It's just gone off. That's I think you just caught it. Just flashes the whole of the clock face. The sound, you can now pick your sound from the normal NinjaTrader 8 sounds section. I don't particularly want sound on, so I won't have it. I also have an alternative. This is for legacy. I don't really know why I included that. I mean, you can just change the color in the counter setup to make it whatever, just to tell you if, for instance, you have 10 charts open, you don't want 10 alarms, one assumes. You might want 1 or 2. You can just say, oh, all the ones that are black and white, therefore, are alarmed, and all the rest are not alarmed. It's up to you. But as I say, it's just legacy. No real reason to have it there. Sound is off. Counter setup is on. And then the last one in this particular instance is show guides and aids. And that produces 2 buttons for you to press. Indicator guide, that's this video, so if you ever need to come back to it or reference yourself. And then the second one is something called an auto sync clock. When I started developing this back in 2017, as I say. One of the issues I had was my PC clock and Ninja would not sync or would get out of sync for various reasons. I've since discovered with research that the Windows PC clock is really quite poor. So what I discovered in my research is there's something called autosync lock. It's a reference to another YouTube video. It's completely free. It's nothing to do with me. I've used it for about 2 years and I've found it solved all of my issues. It has one other added bonus feature, which is it will also, if you wanted to, show your latency or lag between your NinjaTrader platform and the exchange. Again, useful if you find you're not getting fills or you're getting slow things or whatever it might be. Also, it shows you, your better connections and your worst connections and so on and so forth. But as I say, have a look at it. I found it's very good. It effectively neutralizes the Windows PC clock and replaces it with an internet clock that is far more accurate and far more stable. So that's that. If you want to get rid of these buttons, once you've looked at them, you just simply unclick that and apply. As you can see, they disappear. So let me show you some more charts, some good ones and some not so good ones. So this indicator will work with volumetrics charts if you want them to. It will also work with range charts if you want, and I'll come on to those. Oh, yes, forgot about that. It'll also show you why you've got errors and stuff. Or it should show you why you've got errors and stuff. We're at 101, yep, so we're going 50 on that. That disappears. And then the other feature that is brand new, or two features. First one is before we had Control 0, and you could go around the chart in a clockwise direction. Now if we go Control 1, you can go backwards. And then the other feature is, if you go backwards, we have a brand new thing, which is a price axis number. Now this will only display the counter and not the clock. I haven't yet mastered that. It's maybe something I do, I don't know. But at the moment, I'm not that particularly bothered by it. And as you can see, this is the version of it flashing. I wanted to have this flashing a color. For some reason, I can't seem to get it doing because the chart background, which is this black color, is set in a state change, and you can't seem to change it on bar update. Feels wrong, and if anyone knows how to do that, or has got a way to do that, please DM me. That would be really useful to discover. What you can do, however, is again, you go back into your indicator, you go to your flashing options, and you can do the whole panel. And you can just do that, and as you can see, it will flood away. This will still squeeze in, so it's a kind of a flashing. So those are the 2 or 3 major new options, other than a lot of internal rejigging, particularly with the percentages on the range charts. They caused me a lot of sweat and tears, to be fair, which is surprising because it's such a simple thing to do. And then the final thing to look out for is, oops, sorry. If you want this feature, one of the things you have to turn off is if you go into data series, you'll find a price marker and you need to have that as non-visible. So don't tick this. I'll show you what happens. If you do, you end up with this. Now in the code itself, I've left a dummy line. You can have your counter beneath the price. So if you want that, you can do that. Sorry, let me just show you. It might be easier. Where are we? You just need to go to Format Price Marker, and this line here. So if you undo this, do that, pile obviously. So it's ready. you can reload, and as you can see, then it moves the value down. So entirely up to you, whichever version you like. And that's it. Oh, one more thing. Yes, there are some charts it will not work with. Here's a good example of one. Renko. It kind of works with Renko, but it really doesn't. If, for instance, you don't want the flashing and you're not bothered with that, then a simple way to handle that is simply to make this transparent. And sorry, doing my old thing there, make that transparent as well. And then you just end up with the clock itself. The reason I say it works is I don't use Renko chart. Ooh, there you go. You've got to turn the flashing off as well. So trigger levels, flashing options, none. Okay, and then that stops. The reason I say it doesn't work is that I don't use Renko charts myself. It's something I kind of looked at and would like to, but I'm not quite sure the way they are constructed. I mean, I've read the research and I think I understand it, but in terms of handling it as a not so much as a clock but as a counter, I can't find anything. It doesn't seem to work. But as I say, and every now and again the bar does work and it works fine, and then it starts to go off and it shows you 140% and negative values and all sorts of things. And life's too short for me to work so hard on something that I at the moment won't use. Again, if anybody knows how to do that or can guide me, I'd happily put it in, but it's just not something that I've not found another counter either that it will actually work with, which is interesting. So obviously it's a little bit more tricky than perhaps it should be. But that's about the only one other than Kage's that I've found that doesn't work. And then the last example is the volume chart. Sorry, move that down to 1,000 volumes. So again, we've got it coming down. It just shows you different things. I hope you enjoy it. Any features that you'd like to see in the future or you think could be improved, or bugs or so on and so forth? Because the problem I find with doing this is you spend hundreds of hours on it and you can't see the wood for the trees anymore, because I know absolutely every intimate detail of it. Of course, somebody who doesn't will go, "Oh, Russ, could you do that?" But by all means, if I can do it, I will. If I can't, I'll tell you I can't. But most of the time I can do it. Enjoy the indicator. There won't be another upgrade for some considerable time, I think, unless, as I say, I find something that's really useful, or unless someone can point me in the direction of improving this, where, like Renko charts, for instance, where I can't do it. Thanks very much. Happy trading.